David Bushnell was born in 1742 in Saybrook, Connecticut. In the early 1770s, he studied at Yale University, and in 1775, during the Siege of Boston, he had an idea. In Connecticut, in the year 1775, the first ever operational submarine designed for warfare was constructed. It is most commonly referred to as the Turtle because of its supposed resemblance to two upper tortoise shells connected to each other. The Turtle was constructed out of wood and covered with tar, and was large enough to hold a single man sitting down inside of it. The purpose of this strange-looking machine was to transport a wooden magazine full of gunpowder to the hull of a British warship. This magazine, also invented by Bushnell, was constructed specifically to be able to explode underwater. It consisted of two large pieces of wood, which had been hollowed out and attached with iron bands. Inside was contained 150 pounds of gunpowder, as well as the mechanism for setting it off. This mechanism consisted of a flintlock, similar to those used on muskets, which was connected to a clockwork mechanism. This way, the flintlock could be set to detonate the powder a specific amount of time after the magazine was released from the Turtle, giving the Turtle time to escape. The magazine was attached to the inside of the Turtle with a screw, which, when unscrewed by the pilot, would set the clock machinery inside the magazine in motion. Also attached to the magazine was a rope, which was connected to another screw affixed to the top of the Turtle. The plan was for the Turtle to approach British warships underwater, propelled by a set of rotating oars described as being like the two opposite arms of a windmill. Once the Turtle had arrived at the hull of a British ship, the pilot would use the screw affixed to the top of the Turtle to drill a hole into the hull of the ship to attach the magazine. Once the magazine had been attached to the ship, it would be released from the Turtle, and the Turtle would make its escape. Bushnell's original plan had been to use the Turtle to destroy British ships during the Siege of Boston in late 1775. However, this did not work out as anticipated. As the attempt was going to be made at night, Bushnell had been using foxfire, a type of bioluminescent fungus found in decaying wood, to give enough light for the pilot to read the navigational instruments. However, as Dr. Benjamin Gale wrote on the 7th of December, 1775, "He always depends on foxwood, which gives light in the dark, to fix on the points of the needle of his compass and in his barometer, by which he may know what course to steer and the depth he is under water, both which are absolute necessity for personal safety of the navigator. But he now finds that the frost wholly destroys that quality in that wood, of which he was before ignorant, and for that reason, and that alone, he is obliged to desist." The next opportunity for the use of the Turtle presented itself in September of 1776, during the New York campaign. David Bushnell had previously instructed his brother in the workings of the Turtle. However, this brother being ill at the time the mission was to be undertaken, a replacement had to be found. This replacement was Sergeant Ezra Lee. As he later wrote, Mr. Bushnell then came to General Parsons to get someone to go and learn the ways and mystery of this new machine, and to make a trial of it. General Parsons sent for me and two others who had given in our names to go in on a fire ship if wanted, to see if we would undertake the enterprise. We agreed to it, but first returned with the machine down Sound, and on our way practiced with it in several harbors. The first real test of the Turtle's capability was to take place on the 7th of September, 1776. The target of this mission was to be the flagship of the British fleet in New York, HMS Eagle. On the evening of the mission, the Turtle was towed out into the water by a whaleboat. Once they had approached close enough to the British ships, the Turtle was released. Sergeant Lee then waited for a while until the tide allowed him to get close enough to the Eagle. He then rowed until he was next to the stern of the ship, and then he submerged the Turtle. However, when he tried to use the screw to attach the magazine to the hull of the ship, instead of wood, the screw struck iron. The Turtle was pushed back away from the ship, and, seeing that the sun was starting to rise, Sergeant Lee decided to abandon the mission, as he was afraid of being captured. As he was returning, he passed by Governor's Island, which had a large British garrison. As he wrote in his account of the mission, "When I was abreast of the fort on the island, 300 or 400 men got upon the parapet to observe me. At length, a number came down to the shore, shoved off in a 12-oared barge with 5 or 6 sitters, and pulled for me. I eyed them, and when they had got within 50 or 60 yards of me, I let loose the magazine, in hopes that if they should take me, they would likewise pick up the magazine, and then we should all be blown up together." The British troops, however, returned to the island, and Sergeant Lee was met by a whaleboat, which brought him and the Turtle back to shore. As David Bushnell later wrote in a letter to Thomas Jefferson, "After the magazine had been cast off 1 hour, the time the internal apparatus was set to run, it blew up with great violence." And as Sergeant Lee wrote, "The magazine, after getting a little past the island, went off with a tremendous explosion, throwing up large bodies of water to an immense height." Later on in the campaign, Sergeant Lee made another attempt to destroy a British ship using the Turtle. However, due to a combination of malfunctioning navigational instruments and having been spotted by the crew of the ship he was trying to destroy, this attempt also failed. The Turtle never did successfully destroy a British warship. As George Washington wrote to Thomas Jefferson in 1785, "I then thought and still think that it was an effort of genius, but that a combination of too many things were requisite to expect much success from the enterprise against an enemy who were always upon guard."